I'll be right back, Julie.
Okay. Am I the only one on? As long as you love me so. Ah, batteries.
All right, cool. We're almost ready. We just need to get Everett in here.
Everett?
Yeah.
He has been on my mind for some reason. Looking for some batteries for my tree. What's the weather like?
In Mexico?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Like
Can't complain.
70s, 80s?
I'm not sure. Let me see. I'll tell you specifically. Whatever 24 degrees Celsius is.
I know. I never know how to Google it. I'm too old. I think they teach the kids now that, but.
76.
But the water's probably cold, huh?
No, the water's never really cold. The water in California is always freezing, but it's always pretty good in Mexico. So let me check up on the floor.
Okay. Do you have Christmas stuff up?
We don't, but a lot of people do.
I have a little tree. I don't know how it. I need a big tree. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
It's still early.
All right, let me check up on Flor real quick. Flor, ¿todo está bien ahí?
No problem.
Okay. ¿Pudiste encontrar la parte que te dije?
No.
Okay. ¿A qué tiempo lo pasaste? ¿Me puedes mostrar? Bueno, sí, ya hará más tiempo que eso. ¿Dónde paró? Cuando tú lo paraste, ¿dónde estaba?
Como por aquí.
All right.
¿Ahí? Ok, hace 3 minutos y 50. A ver, ¿dónde está? Ok, ponle play.
and I learned everything.
Estás muda, Flor.
I had a jewelry
that
show.
I needed to learn about humans during that time.
Oh, here's yours.
Okay, hacerle play, así lo escucho.
I learned really how to. I was talking to someone about this today, like how to psychoanalyze a person in a matter of like 20, 30 seconds. Like I could really find out like what this person
was about. Hacerle pausa ahí. Okay, all right. So we'll say we left off here. I don't know what Everett's doing.
He sounded sleepy.
All right, I told him we're gonna start in 10 seconds. Oh, you did?
I might have. I don't know. Or did she do 2 of them?
No, she did 1. You might have been thinking of a different girl, which was April.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, so I told Everett we're going to start in 10 seconds. Flor, ¿todo está listo para hacer no sé si paraste el live stream o no? Pero... ¿Lo iniciaste? Ok. Ya eso nos va a cagar un poco cuando hacemos YouTube. Pero bueno. Ok. Bueno, empieza todo ahora, ¿ok? All right, you guys, we're good. ¿Qué? Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue this. So sorry about that, you guys. We are going to look forward to switching over to Discord at some point if everything allows me to. There's more that goes into it than just clicking on it. I have to hook it up to the website and make sure that it works, make sure that we can record and do a bunch of other things too, and screen share too, which is the biggest one. But we'll see how things go. We'll try out Discord. And
what's the problem?
So for whatever reason now, Google Meets wants to put a cap on how much time you can use it. They're kind of doing the same thing that Zoom did before they started charging people to use it.
Yep. Okay.
So that's really annoying. And
totally.
To be honest, I think the Discord is kind of easier and it's better quality anyway from what I've seen. So and it's more popular nowadays too. So it's kind of like, I'm kind of using like a ragtag program, and they were lucky that I was using them. But at this point, they're pushing my buttons, so I'll have to push back.
They're pushing everybody's buttons.
Yeah, that's the problem with the conglomerates. They're just looking to make money. But yeah, that's fine. We'll see if Discord works. If not, then we might have to use Zoom.
There'll be somebody else will come up with something.
Yeah. Because if I'm going to be paying, I might as well use Zoom.
Right.
So
how much is it to go up to an hour? Because like for my patients, I would do the non-HIPAA and just use like FaceTime, or a lot of them I would do telephone. I don't know.
Yeah. How much do they charge?
Zoom
I have no idea.
Pardon me?
Oh, Zoom is HIPAA compliant?
Yeah, like my school is all into that, but nobody's checking. I shouldn't be so laissez-faire, but is anybody checking on Julie? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Probably not. And you could probably you could probably use Discord. You probably like Discord because you can also put a bunch of links. Yeah, you can have your channel like we have now. But imagine if to the left I had a bunch of links you could click on. That's
cool.
Yeah, so that's why I'm considering.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more of an ecosystem than this.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so
I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
If I had to, I would. Like I took my boards, but maybe I will. How do I not be board certified? I denounce it, or what do I do?
You just say that it's coaching. It's private coaching. You
just put on a different hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, certifications are overrated, to be honest. It's more just to try to protect you legally if they try to sue you. But if you're good to people, they're not going to sue you anyway. That was the number one lesson from my ethics and jurisprudence classes I took in basically when I was doing my chiropractic degree. That was like the last classes they taught you, and they're like, all right, well, there's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo, but basically if you're good to people, they won't sue you. So be good to people. Yeah. Yeah. that's your main thing. If you're a jerk to people, then
mistake I made, I'm sure I did. I never harmed anybody, but I haven't been doing this forever and forever. But Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Well, he said, because like some chiropractors, they're a little bit like rough, and sometimes they do hurt people. Very rarely,
I know, my ex,
but it's possible.
So if you're bad, you can stroke someone out, right?
Well, that's a bit of a myth, but you can cause ligaments.
Is it? Okay, he was a DO. You know how they like.
Oh, yeah, well, they like to say that, but,
I know.
you're more likely to get damaged from a DO than you are from a chiropractor.
Yeah, he didn't know what he was doing. He just didn't want to do it, but he had a friend that was really good.
Right. So, yeah, but basically, that's more to, like, try to protect yourself legally, but as long as you're not actively trying to screw people over, they're probably not going to... Like, even if you do accidentally hurt somebody, he said... And he was a lawyer and a chiropractor, so he knew what he was talking about. And he was also like a super rich investor. He had millions. Wow. The smartest guy I ever met in my life. But he basically said, if people like you, even if you do hurt them, they might not sue you even then.
You're probably right.
So that's coming from him,
Right. If your intentions are, I believe that. If your intentions are pure and you just want the best,
right?
Yeah, I see it.
Right.
For sure.
All right, so everyone, you guys ready to keep watching?
Yes, this is too
good. I'm gonna jump off because I'm gonna jump off because I have a double to work tomorrow. Fridays are my doubles.
Oh.
So, I massage about 7-8 people on a Friday.
Can you come out here and give me a massage?
Yeah, give me one too.
They're so expensive. I'm just curious. How much do you charge?
If I do home-based medical massages, it's like, what is it? $57 for a half hour, $108 for an hour.
Dang.
Okay.
You're more expensive than I am.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy crap! What do you charge?
Like in the 50s to 100 at most, but around here in Mexico, it has to be lower. Yeah, in Mexico though, it has to be lower.
Yeah, that's true.
If it helps, I give a discount the first time, and I give a discount when you refer people.
Okay.
No, I'm fine now, but I was like, could use a massage.
Like, I literally had like...
I get like where my shoulder, from stress, my shoulder is bad, where your shoulders are up here and then everything's out back. But I'm good today, so.
Like, I literally had 2-3 days in a row of people coming in because they were just referred to me by somebody that I fixed. And like, I'm telling you, like, people, like word of mouth, I'm like, I cannot wait to open my own business.
So do you tell them to refer, or you have those like incentives, right? So you give them like how much off for referring a friend, or what are those?
So at my job, it's just kind of one of those things that just happens, but for my private clients, like, I tell them, like, flat out, like, I'll give you 10% off, and, like, you could stack it, so, like, you refer 2 people, and I see those 2 people, I'll give you 20% off. Mm-hmm. If somebody's having an issue where, like, financially they can't pay for the full thing and stuff like that, and they're upfront with me, I'll easily cut the price in half or something to help them out, because it's more about helping people than it is making money.
I'm the same way. I'm like, I can't help myself. But people say, stop doing that, but I just can't. I just...
Well, yeah, that's the point of the retreats, is so that people know what the price is up front, and then you get to collect your rightful amount. So something to consider if you guys ever want to come to the healing retreats and offer your stuff there.
Man, how did it go?
Well,
we're also doing health parties now.
I'll have to talk to you separate about this, Go on.
Yeah. That's good. We're gonna do one in February. So we postponed it because of the whole like COVID thing. So we're gonna postpone it to February. But in the meantime, we're doing healthy parties, and the first one we did in Playa del Carmen sold out completely. So people love it.
I heard, but I mean, I can't get to Playa del Carmen. Why? I don't want to stay with Tim. I'm be bunking with you, and then like the whole like just the flight. Unless someone, I don't know, just the flight.
I don't know what you mean by that. The flight's usually pretty good for me.
Yeah. Well, I have my situation. If my settlement comes in, I'm there. I'm there. Like, I love Mexico. There's I always think of a reason to go.
Right, yeah. There's lots of good reasons to go. And I looked and like on the map, because when you buy your plane ticket, it literally tells you, like, it shows you a map of all the places. Let me see if I can find it. It basically shows you a map of all the places that have COVID restrictions, like all the countries.
Right.
And so, like, literally one of the few ones that doesn't is Mexico. And there's maybe like one or two other ones, but they require you to have like.
From the beginning, in my heart, like that's the way it was going to be. They were going to be slow to, right?
Yeah.
If ever, I don't know.
Let me see if I can find
where it's going to go. I think they're going to be the last. They get ignored. I don't know why they're not. Right.
I'm looking for the maps, but they're not up to date here. But literally, it was down to Mexico and like maybe one other island somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So
they barely even look at the card. Like,
yeah, they don't. But now they're like trying to like do like this QR code stuff. So, but yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
we'll get into that for the discussion.
I do want to talk about it though.
Yeah, we will. We'll talk about it more in the discussion part. Let's go ahead and get this video watched, so that way it won't cut us off again.
Okay.
All right, Everett. Well, I hope you stay for a little bit more and you get to listen more to it. But
Everett, I was going to call you. Maybe we can make a time to talk when you're not busy. I know holidays, massage is busy.
I mean, you're more than welcome to call me. I think you're 3 hours behind me?
It is 8:23. I can't see the far. Yes, something like that.
So you're 2
what
hours
are you?
behind me.
Yeah.
So if you
we don't change.
Okay, so if you call me tomorrow around 6 p.m. your time, or 5. No,
6 p.m. my time. That would work. It might be a little after 6. I have a free pass to a Gainey spa, and it has a mineral pool, and I keep saying I'm going to go, but I'm going tomorrow.
Yeah, you should go. Those are fun. Me and Justin
like,
and a couple friends went to something like that. Yeah, and it was really fun.
Did they?
Yeah.
It like changed my disposition, but anyways.
Yeah, those are fun.
It wasn't a mineral pool. It was a thermocycle spool, Gabe.
What's that?
It was a thermocycle. Have you ever heard of that, Julie?
No, a thermocycle?
Thermocycle spa. So basically they have pool pools that are in the 40 degree, 43 degree, 45 degree temperature.
Oh, they had that
and then they have...
That you go back forth? Like cold plunge?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had that there
too. It's called a thermocycle. Yeah.
They just called it something. Yeah, that's good for you. I do that myself, like in the bathtub.
Yeah.
This is a little better.
Poor man's version.
Yeah, well, it's kind of Anyways.
Hey Gabe, quick question. Yeah. 2 quick questions actually. Have you ever heard of black oxygen therapy? Or the GB4000?
Or what?
GB4000.
No, never heard of it.
Black oxygen therapy?
Yes. So pretty much it is pretty much a mineral pit that they're found all around the world in certain places, but this company built it off of a mineral pit in Canada because they said that it was the purest one that they had found, right? So pretty much a bunch of people broke off from a bigger company to build their own company. And they started a company and it was called Black Oxygen Therapy, and that's what they were calling it. Well, pretty much what ended up happening was people were taking the product and people were reporting fantastic success with the product. because the product helps do a bunch of things, but mainly it delivers over 70, I think it's over 70 something minerals to your body, along with extra electrons and oxygen, which is the enemy, of course, of any disease. People were even claiming that it cured cancer, and they pretty much...
That's why they shut it down.
Yeah, because the founders were like getting on webinars with people like, listen, stop saying that. Don't say the word cure. Like, if you say the word cure, yeah, he's like, if you say the word cure, like, people are coming after us right now. People kept doing it, so they pretty much got shut down. So pretty much it's called black oxygen, but it's made out of the fulvic and humic acid. That's what it's called. And I looked at this other site, and holy crap, it is expensive. But people swear by it, but it's a little bit out of my price range.
What about oxygen therapy, but not the ones that they have in the hospital? I have one here I can get at a practitioner discount that's like a real one, but even the ones that are like a tent, does anyone know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about
like
the oxygen chambers, right?
Yeah, oxygen chamber. Oh my gosh. Like, so, like, you're like, wow, I feel smarter. I can see better. Like, I don't know about cancer, but
yeah,
we'll have to talk. My friend's dad is dying, and she is buying all this equipment. Like, she has all this open credit, and she's got an ozone machine, distillery, I mean, you name it. And she's trying to save her dad, but her dad wants to go. That's a whole nother.
Oh yeah, if he wants to go,
you know what I mean?
There's not really much she can do.
I know. I tried.
Everybody.
Okay, let's. Okay.
Guys, I'm sorry, but let's get going. I really want to get back to this. Can I interrupt everybody, please?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, well, let's continue the discussion in the discussion part. Well, let's go ahead.
Yeah,
and do
I really love hearing this. But let's get started. Yeah. All right, can everybody please mute their microphones? And Gabriel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, guys. All right, let me check up with Floor. Floor, are you ready? All right, let's do it, guys.
Where they're from, what they did, and how much money they had, and they were worth my time.
Wow.
And yeah, I became really good at just reading people. Before I even knew what NLP was or, anything like that, I could just get a feel and a read from people. And I thought that was kind of normal. I didn't know that was like a gift, but it became my way of how I learned to navigate a stressful situation and forced to make a quota every night. So from there, I, really entertained the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world, and I was trafficked at a very high level, so not like what you would see on the news and things like that. But I wanted, my soul was wanting something more, and I was so unhappy and so miserable, but I didn't know how to get out of the life that I'm in. And so basically, you'll hear my TED Talk, but I faked my own death so that I could escape my trafficker and start my life over, because I just knew there was no other way to get out. And eventually that led to a lot of more complex circumstances that finally it got me out of the life. But it wasn't just like a one rip the Band-Aid off type of thing. It never really is in that world. It's so intricate and things. So it took me a while, but I landed on an island in Thailand where I studied Tantra for a year, just exclusively did nothing else but just lived, breathed that, and just began to heal and get back into my body and began to find a connection to my sexuality, but also to my spirituality. And I really just found my purpose, which was to help other people, really entrepreneurs, help them to shake the shame that's been attached to their sexuality. Because maybe they didn't have a crazy traumatic life, but I knew that there was other men and women that felt shame around sex, shame around sexuality, around their desires and shadows, and and also just felt disconnected from their body, from themselves, and their partner. And so it kind of just became my mission to create something that could help entrepreneurs to push past that and really move into this space that's very uncomfortable, very scary, but it's so vulnerable, so open, so surrendered, and so beautiful. And so that's essentially what I do today through Intimacy Retreat, like you mentioned. But I also was determined to give from a place where I wasn't given. And so I also have my non-for-profit, which is Beyond Freedom, that works with the holistic rehabilitation of victims of human trafficking through holistic healing modalities from people really around the world. So that's my other passion.
So that's quite a wound to have to heal yourself from. So what were some of the steps that you took? Because I know being trapped in that world, it's like you become desensitized. It's like you can't connect with that person because you kind of you have to shut yourself off to survive, So to go through that, what were some of the things that helped you out the most?
I think for me was just the pathway of Tantra, which is putting the body in a space of openness and of surrender so that you're able to feel in your body again. Because like you said, for most trauma victims, or even for busy people today, we kind of disassociate from the body so that we can just go and be and do in life without really feeling. And so for me, when I got into the practices, I started realizing, wow, I knew how to be seductive, but I didn't know how to be sensually connected. I knew how to seduce someone, but I didn't know how to seduce myself, and I didn't know how to accept my sexuality. It was almost like I was an actress, and I was a great one. I could perform, I could put on a show, I could make people, I could entertain guys and get thousands of dollars from them when I'd been beat up the night before. You wouldn't know, all these things. So when you do that over and over, it becomes your normalcy. You're right, you do forget how to be that. So for me, it was through the body, through kinesthetic practice of movement, through certain tantric practices, and through dance, which I created my own healing modality called Dance Om, which women to really get into their body. And so that was what I did. That was one of the things that I did. The other thing was I just allowed myself to feel. I think when you're working and we have families and we have day-to-day stuff, often we just kind of, especially men, will kind of compartmentalize stuff. I'll deal with that later, and later never comes, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll block all this stuff up and hold it, and then we'll just have an outburst, but we're never really getting to the root of what it was and how do we feel that. So for me, it was by feeling, opening myself up, feeling, and I did an extensive practice. We did hours and hours of Tantra practice a day, but also allowing myself to be open to experience male friendships, which I'd never had before. That there was nothing sexual involved. It was literally just being friends with male teachers and students that I knew in the school. And that was a huge thing for me because I just never had that kind of relationship before. So those were some of the things that I did. And through that, I began to find the parts of me that I hated, and there were so many of them. And then I also began to find the parts of me that I loved, because it was just what it was. This was my story, but it didn't have to be something that defined me. It could be something that helped me help others. And I think the power for me, my secret weapon, is that I'm just so open and I'm so vulnerable to a flaw. Some people, they can't handle it because they're how can we be so transparent? I shared, my breakups. I shared that, I got dumped, and I shared that I really, all these things that people are whoa, I would never talk about that. But because I come from such a vulnerable place, that other people feel like they can be vulnerable too. And so we go really deep into that in the retreat. And I think that's where people get the breakthrough.
when you're vulnerable, that's where most breakthroughs happen, because you need to come to a state to where you're honest with yourself. You know, that's the most important part. And then that's when you really do start to heal, you know, like it's like a requirement to get to that. But when you do, you like you said, you connect with others and you reach them on a soul level, which is really what's actually important when you have a connection with anyone, is to have that soul connection with them.
It's so true. It's so true. And people are tired of the phony. Like, they've seen the perfect little families and stuff on Insta and Facebook, and people only sharing really the good that happens in their life. And for me, I really like to share really openly and really vulnerable about all my shadows, the parts of myself that I still don't like, the parts of myself that still question, like, am I enough? You know, like why would this person really like me? Because I'm not educated. I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm still working on my bachelor's degree and I'm 39, you know, it's like all these things, like I had to start my life over. And, you know, so those things still come up, but I'm so open and I talk about them. And I tell women, like, you know, there was another Tantra coach that committed suicide years ago. She was really, actually, she used to teach with Keith, the guy that I teach with now. And it really shook up that world, including myself, because I really looked up to her. She was about 10 years ahead of me and came from a very similar background as me. So it's very important for me to portray myself as someone that's still human and that still has, you know, issues within relationships, but the fact that I'm so honest and vulnerable, and I encourage other people to have that and find that with their partner. Because most people never get there. They're in a relationship that's almost like being in jail. They, like, you know, they're in a prison, and then they go through this prison day in and day out, getting, like, you know, just surviving. And then finally they get divorced. They're like, okay, now I can celebrate, you know? And then they go and oftentimes put themselves into the same situation, because no matter where you go, there you are. So we're never fixing anything because we're never getting vulnerable. We're never getting honest with ourselves, let alone with a partner. And I like to encourage people to have the uncomfortable conversations, because if you don't do that, you're going to be, you know, in a situation that's not even a truth. It's a lie. It's two people with masks on pretending to be in this relationship for fear the other person's going to leave them or won't like them. And then that's what happens, because it wasn't even a real relationship in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. Like, genuineness is definitely a requirement to make something last long term. But I noticed that, like, in order to have that intense emotional connection, not only do you have to have the vulnerability and the honesty, but there's also an extra something. And I think that's what you teach people at your retreats. Like, what are some of the techniques that you use to help them break out of that fog, you know, let's say, to, like, then be able to be very present with the person that they're with? Because, you know, you had to go through a lot to heal from that, but I'm sure you've seen a lot of, like, repeating patterns. What are some of those patterns?
Myself and others too. It's always myself, but, you know, men want to seek always the freedom. They want to always seek the path of least resistance that's most beneficial for them without them showing their cards, right? If we're talking poker, they don't want to show their cards. And then women, you know this, and so they come into a relationship equally guarded, even though they want to be emotional, because they know if they're over emotional, guys will close the door in their face, because guys just don't know how to. They're not equipped to really deal with emotions that women have. We tend to have a range of them because of the feminine energy, and the feminine energy is just really chaotic and crazy, and it changes all the time. And men don't really relate to that. It's hard for them. So you have two very different people wanting to build intimacy, but not really having the tool set to do it, because no one's ever taught them how to develop that presence within themselves first. Because let's just be honest, most of the time we're not present. Like, when is the last time you think back to your last meal? Like, what were you doing? Were you just having your meal? Chances are no. You were like maybe talking on the phone or sending an email or watching Netflix. And I'm not saying any of those things are bad. Like, but we're never really like present with ourselves, you know? And most of the time, if we are, false, because we're lying to ourselves about a lot of things. If you lie to yourself, certainly lie to your partner. Don't kid yourself, right? And we do that. We lie to ourselves because it hurts for us to be honest, because if we do that, then we have to face the shadows and the parts of us that we don't like. Someone else to like them. So I tell people, like, you got to fall madly in love with the deepest, darkest side of you and bring that to the table. Like, I'm not saying on your first date, like, be crazy, but, like, I'm saying, like, we got to ask the right question of each other, of our partner. And we have to do certain things, like be together, be with each other. You know, really understand, like, what is it about a person that makes, besides the, like, sexual attraction, like, what is it that keeps this person up at night? What is it this person gets up for every morning? And understand those things. Because when you know what a person's, like, values are, value sets, you can really understand if you guys are going to be a good match. And from there, you know, then you can build. But most people will just say what they think that the other person wants to hear so that they can, you know, whatever, take this person home or get this person as a girlfriend. And in the end, you know, it's not really who they are. But people don't want to share who they really are because they're afraid that they'll get rejected. And that's like the ultimate fear, is that you won't be enough. You won't be enough. You won't be loved. So for me, I mean, I've had some painful situations, beyond painful, but I choose vulnerability and I choose intimacy and presence and surrender over everything, even if it means losing the person I love, because I just don't know how to not be with. And I do lose people often.
Yeah, and that can be also traumatizing if you have, like, you know, not just fear of rejection, but also fear of abandonment. But it is a position of bravery to do that consciously.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, Brene Brown talks about shame being like one of the single biggest problems that we have on the planet. And I you know, agree with that fully. But even, you know, in our relationships, how this just creeps in. Because we're so attached to our ego and how we think people are going to perceive us. And so in the instances of, like, what does it take to, like, be present with, sit with them, breathe with them, to be with them, to really look into their soul and feel them. Like, we don't have that today. You know, we just don't even look at people in the eye, and now we have masks that basically cover almost everything. And so it's a crime, the world we live in. At this retreat, we get uncomfortable. We put them in positions where they're like, I've never done this before and I'm scared. But, like, when we go there with people, they just open, because that's what we want to do. We want to have relationships that are immensely intimate, that are connected. But we're afraid. But when we could create this container that's safe, he shows up in his presence and I show up with my vulnerability and openness, we create a place that other people just open, and they are never the same. Because once a man really sees you and sees your soul and sees you as the divine feminine energy in human form, you can never go back. You can't recover from it. You can't go out on a normal date on Bumble, you know, on Hinge, like, you looked at the same way. It just does something to your soul, and then you want to go deeper because you know that your sexuality is directly related to your spirituality, because you feel it.
I love that you bring that up. But we actually have our own retreat coming up too for AQ Adaptive Intelligence, and it's a healing retreat, but it's focused on healing the self, like healing yourself. And I love that yours is the other piece of that puzzle, which is healing yourself, but through the other, like through somebody else. Yeah. So both are very important. Both should be done. Absolutely. So I love that there's the synergy there.
Absolutely.
So, and I love that you tap into things that, you know, like we don't tap into. Don't tap into sexuality We do tap into the spiritual and like the physical healing and the emotional, mental healing. But the sexual stuff is like, that's like, save that for a different place. So the perfect place sounds like your retreats. So what inspired you to have this vision, this dream of having these retreats?
Well, I had, like, when I was in Thailand still training my teachers, I just felt like I've never felt so like alive in my life. I was like, this is just it. Like, I just feel it. And I didn't know how, I had no college degree. I'd been stripping for a decade. And, like a 7th grade equivalent college or high school. What is that? Middle school. So
Yeah.
I didn't even have a GED, or I think I barely had that. I'm not sure. I just knew I didn't know how to create something like business-wise. But I knew I wanted to teach this, and I knew I wanted to teach it to entrepreneurs, not to yogis, because I thought, they already get this. Like, all of my colleagues that I, attended this training with, I knew were already yogis, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna go and teach it. I don't want to be just a tantra teacher for yogis. Like, I want to attract entrepreneurs that want to use this path to have better relationships, to cultivate more intimacy with themselves, to have more energy, to create what we call sexual transmutation, which is to learn to harness the power of your sexual energy and turn it into money in the bank or whatever it is you like new things. And the principles teach you how to do this. So I had that vision, and then when I came back to the US, like, I started connecting with Keith, and I knew we were going to create magic together. And we did do one workshop here in Newport Beach, but we did a couple actually, but the timing wasn't right. My son was really little, and he had a daughter that was just born. It was a really hard, like, just transitional time for us. So that was kind of, I knew I was going to create retreats, but I was really nervous to kind of do it on my own, because I just thought, I don't have the following. I've never spent an ad for never put money on advertising for my entire business, like, ever. Yeah, because I just didn't know how, and I didn't have the capital, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to provide really good service and then just get referrals, because, Tony sent me to all his events, and I learned that, at Business Mastery. And so with Keith, he had the celebrity status that I knew, was going to get people, and I knew I had the passion and the work ethic, and I had the connection to be able to get on the phone with people and talk to them and just find out what their needs were and to be able to offer them that solution. And so that's how we created that desire. And now we're shifting into, like, creating a school where we will certify people to be able to teach this, because we want to create a community of tantrics or people that are on the path, that want to date consciously, that want to have partners that get up and meditate with them, and yoga and breathe together and move together. And, that was our vision. And Keith just wants to travel the world, and live from a suitcase. And so that's kind of what our next steps are. So we're just looking to build tribe and community with people that want to be on this path. And that's exciting to me, because I feel like I've been blessed to be able to teach this. It's a good karma, but it's also inspiring for me to see this work change people's lives. It really does, because there's nothing more taboo and more powerful, more dynamic than your sexual energy. There's just nothing on the planet. I mean, look, it creates life. And so when you learn to harness that energy, your life will change. I mean, I was living proof of that. I was just homeless not even 6 years ago, and I live in that very city in Newport Beach, where I was homeless with my newborn. So it's like the power of channeling that energy is insane. And so, yeah, I just love this. It gets me excited. It wakes me up every morning. And yeah, so excited for the retreat in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear how it all went. Actually, if you're ever in the same city that I'm doing a retreat in myself, I would love to just show up and we can mob,
Yeah.
But
We're there the 21st. I don't know when you're in there. The 21st to the 24th is ours, but
of this month?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Very soon. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. That's cool. I did see some really cool pictures of the retreat. What are some of the things that you guys do at the retreats? Like, are you willing to give a few spoilers?
Yeah, like we do some pretty cool stuff. We do something called the Walk of Love, where the first night we do some really powerful emotional stuff, some clearing, and it's really kind of heavy, but we never want to go like on a heavy note. We always want to leave them feeling good in their body. That's definitely NLP technique. So we do the Walk of Love, which we have everyone come dressed in white, and then we create a tunnel of 2 lines of people. We have the first person come up to the top, and basically they're blindfolded, and we send them through this Walk of Love where I started off, and I just kind of channel through Shiva, through the divine, and say whatever I feel I'm supposed to give them, whatever message. And they go through people doing Reiki, touching them in all appropriate areas, just giving them touch and putting their hands on their head and on their arms and holding them and hugging them and telling them they love them and touching their feet and massaging their feet and their hands, and guys and girls, and we just give this person like so much love and connection that they literally, people are like high, they're like crying, they're high. Men are touching men, and weirdness. It's just like, it's pure love. We play really high vibrational frequency tuned music that's all from the heart. Then at the end, he stands at the end, and then he welcomes them and brings them to his final embrace, and then we just start the process. And so everyone goes through, and it's such a beautiful, like, people literally tripping out because they've never got to experience love at that just high level with just total strangers, or maybe even in their whole life. That's something really powerful we do.
I did see some pictures too, and I saw something that looked like black light body painting, which looked really cool. That was really interesting as well. You're very creative, and I love how you do the lighting in the background as well. So it sounds like a very like aesthetically pleasing environment for the healing, which really does help. Like set and setting is huge. It's
so big, and this one is different. So that retreat was Intimacy 1. If you can go to any, this one is the one to go to, because we basically give you a recap of 1 and 2, 4 days. So you're getting like 2 weeks of workshops in one. And so we level everything up. That was nothing. Like, what we're doing this time is so like crazy. Like we have shibari artists coming in. We have just some crazy epic things that we'll be doing to really, again, get people into their body, push them out of their comfort zone, get them feeling connected with themselves and with other people, and if they have a partner, with that person too.
So is this primarily for couples, or like can people that don't have a couple yet show up healing?
It's actually mostly singles, believe it or not. This retreat, I believe, I think last time we only had 1 couple. But this time I think we might have 2 or 3, but the majority of people are single. So that's probably the biggest misconception, that you need a partner to go. But you don't, and it's a great way to meet a partner too.
I mean, what better place than clearly healing, so they're on the right path.
Exactly, and that's what we love, and that's why we want to create this, school, so that we create this space for people to connect on that level.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And like for you guys, if it sounds like it's a great place for you guys to go to heal not only yourself, but also like your partner, or to heal yourself for a potential future partner. And I love what you're talking about, and I love your story as well. Like, that's quite a journey that you've been through, and most people think that healers are perfect. Like, no, we're healers. We're people too, but we've gone through these challenging times. We've gone through these challenging things, and you don't have to do it alone. Like, we're there to walk you step by step. So thank you so much, Janelle. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we go into our open discussion and where people can ask you questions?
No, I mean, just you mentioned it. I have a TED Talk coming out, and I would really, love as many people to watch this. It's really not about me. This is really about the nonprofit and getting this types of talks, more of these talks out there. Human trafficking is a pandemic right now, and we don't have actually that much out there. So we're really trying to use this TED Talk, send a message to TED, really start to create that genre, because this is happening everywhere. There's nowhere it's not happening. And so we want to be that voice for survivors. That is not a death sentence like it is now, you know, that
right.
marked scarlet letter. We want to show, or I do, want to show that it's possible to be, you know, to go from product to person, move from survivor to thriver, and not have to change your past. And I want to do it so I can set that stage for other survivors too.
Beautiful, beautiful. And the world definitely needs it. I know Tony Robbins himself contributes to helping to end human trafficking.
Yeah.
I totally love Tony Robbins and totally support his work as well. He's one of my mentors. So is one of his best friends. So thank you for sharing. And I think I'm going to go ahead and open it up to everyone else. I'm going to open up the floor. So if you guys want to, you can hop back in and turn on your cameras and turn on your voice, and we'll try to limit it to like state a question and then go ahead and turn your mic off so that we don't have any feedback, or we can do that if you guys want. I'm going to mute my mic, so if anybody that has a question, show up on camera, raise your hand, and I'll give you the go ahead.
All right, you guys, and we're back. So I know, Jeff, you've seen that one before. I don't know if you've seen that one yourself, Julie, or Les. I don't know if you were there for that one, Les. So what did you guys think of it, seeing it the first time, second time around? What are your thoughts? You guys can come back. You're muted, by the way. You can turn your video and your audio back on. And I think we're also going to end the live stream. So if you guys are watching online and you want to join in, make sure that you use the links at the bottom or at our hub. So you can find us at AQ Adaptive Intelligence on Instagram and find all the stuff there. So what'd you think, Julie? Was that your first time?
No, second time.
Oh, okay,
I went
awesome.
back and watched your, the channels or the videos that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had an interest in tantric sex because I feel like people are so disconnected. It's just like the physical act. And
Right.
I just don't really, it sounds crazy. I don't really want to, that's just like not a space I want to be in right now. Right? It's just a physical act with no meaning, right? Like no connection. It just seems stupid to me.
Yeah, yeah. Like what really gives life, it's like, like the spice of life is the meaning that we give to things.
Yeah.
So when you come into a space and you intentionally have a good meaning, then it really amplifies the experience, But same thing can be said if you view everything negatively. Whatever experience you have, it's going to be a lesser experience.
Right.
So the intention sets the tone for how you interpret that experience.
Definitely. Like I brought it up, and I don't know what guys think. Like we just think it's woo woo, or they couldn't do it because it's communicating.
I think the main thing is like it takes discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And for something like that, for a man, it can be a little bit more difficult because there's like a little bit of that impatience when it comes to that, like with a man. Like, it's kind of like the opposite, like what she was saying. Like how women and men are built differently, where women are more on. I'm speaking generally, of course. Where women tend to be more on the emotional side, where men tend to be disconnected from that.
Yes.
Not always, but generally you can say that's the case.
Right. I agree.
There's always exceptions, of course. But generally speaking, when it comes to matters of sexual intimacy as well, men just kind of want to get it done and get on with it,
Right.
Women want to take their time. They want their candles, their wine, all the nice
and talk things. About
right. Yeah, they want to communicate.
Feeling and
Yeah.
And
so
then
that's why
men wonder why you don't want to have sex, right? I think it becomes this cycle.
Yeah.
Even in marriage, just even if whatever. So you're avoiding because it's you're not really connecting.
Right.
Really.
Right.
It's a physical act.
Yeah, that's where like if finding a guy that actually has like that bit of romance makes a big difference, because they understand the importance of like setting everything up to be nice. You know, it's like there's a funny expression even in the community of like healers that I work with. There was an expression that they would use when you're making like at least for like NeuroHealing type stuff like that I do. It's like when you make a touch, like a contact on somebody's body, it's like there's a difference of if you're just trying to like, you know, get it done and it's kind of like invasive to the body doesn't like that, versus like doing it, you know, nice and slowly making a contact and releasing slowly. Like it's the difference between